Hello everyone! Have you ever had a dream? One so glorious that you'd rip open the gates of hell just to achieve it? No? Well, sit back and let me tell you what it's like to have ambition. I'm Kralo, and welcome to Helltaker. Now, those of you who've been with this channel for a while, you'll remember that Bossman made a Helltaker review back in 2022. So this is a remake of the original, which means the OG goes right into the vault. As with all our remasters and remakes, you can see them on Ko-Fi when you support the Bossman there. Anyway, on to the review itself. What is Helltaker? Well, it's a game released on Steam back in 2020, where you traverse the realms of hell in search of the noblest goals, getting a harem of suit-clad demon ladies. And despite this goal seeming like it'd be something out of a low-effort and low-budget NSFW game, that seems to be everywhere on Steam if you have that setting on, Helltaker actually has a lot of charm to it, with a great art style, great soundtrack, and fun dialogue. But how did this game come to be? Well, according to some sources, it was made because of the creator, Van Ripper, wanting art of his demon OCs and made a game to get free fan art of them. However, researching for more info on this, it turns out that that might not actually be the case, but that's unconfirmed, so we choose to believe that it's real. What we can confirm, according to an FAQ that Van Ripper posted, is that the game was made in around a year, with the final few months being especially crunchy. Also, a random fact, according to Wikipedia, the protagonist of Helltaker was actually inspired by Leisure Suit Larry, or rather, his looks were inspired. Which just... wow. Bossman didn't even make the connection despite knowing about the Leisure Suit Larry games prior to this. Most of the game production was actually done by Van Ripper themselves, with the music done by Mitzi's, who's actually got a YouTube channel where you can check out the rest of their music. Yes, this means that the art, programming, and more were done by Van Ripper, and done in the Unity game engine, one of the more versatile game engines that's available for smaller devs to utilize. There isn't really a lot of information online about the actual development of the game, except for maybe a few articles and the FAQ posted by Van Ripper, which does actually lead to a lot of information on the development of the game and history of the game. It was initially released on the Windows, with Mac and Linux editions coming later, as well as some fan-made ports for the Switch and PlayStation Vita. Fan interaction is actually a rather big part of the development, as Van Ripper actually encourages fans to help translate it into other languages, and has a few qualifications for making fan-related works to Helltaker on the aforementioned FAQ. Now, like I said earlier, the goal of the game is to get a harem of suit-clad demons. But how do you do this? It's not a dating sim. Well, at least not entirely. Well, to start, you have a move counter, which, as the name suggests, count how many times you can move. If it hits 0, you get kicked out of hell in a flash of light and you have to restart the level. It's actually pretty similar to the 80s puzzle game Sokoban in how it's played. But rather than the number of moves being a way to challenge yourself, it's instead a limit and sometimes a declaration of how many moves you have. Despite this, the game is short, only about 10 or so levels in the base game, but it's still fun and addictive. Back to how the game is played. In addition to the general movement, there's also a button to reset the level manually, which is R on your keyboard and left bumper on the controller. That said, once you hit the goal of the level, which will be the demon, you get a fairly simple question, and there will be two options: the right answer and the wrong answer. Choose the wrong answer and you get sent back to the start of the level. Do this for 8 out of 11 worlds, and bada bing bada boom, you're home with your harem just in time for what the game calls pancakes, but are in actuality crepes. You can also unlock Beelzebub for your harem in the home level by doing a secret somewhere on the map. Where and what is that secret? You'll need to find that out for yourself. Or search it on YouTube. I can't control you. there is a slight change for the final level, where it shifts from the Sokoban-style puzzle game to a form of bullet hell, which, keep that in mind for a later video. This shift for the final level may jar some players on their first playthrough. In the end, there are two endings, the regular ending and the Abyss Taker ending. As for what happens in those endings, well, that would be telling. Now, a year after Helltaker came out, we got a free update called Exam Taker, which takes place after Helltaker's secret ending. Now, Bossman didn't cover this due to him not being interested, however, I will be covering this, mostly because it's written in the script. Anyway, in Exam Taker, you play Subject 67 as you're completing tests for Lore Master, the demon formerly known as Azazel the Curious Angel, and her maid, Lucy, the former Queen of Hell. You go through 7 levels and get some apple pie at the end. It's a nice story, but the gameplay isn't really fun, which is why Bossman didn't cover it in the first place. Now on to the part people are actually playing the game for, the suit-clad demons. I won't list all of them since there are like 10 girls, 11 if you count Lore Master and Azazel as separate beings. So I'm going to tell you my personal favorite 3 girls from this game. I'm going to start by talking about Justice. Justice is really cool. She's very chill. She's got a vibe that kind of gives off the feeling that she's one of the boys. Really funny. Really kind of, the fan art at least, depicts like a very good athletic build with like a nice 6-pack, which admittedly I've got a bit of a weakness for. Then, you know, you find out that she's actually blind. And couple that with the fact that she's also a lover of jokes and puns, me personally, that just sucked me right in, because we all know that the saying is, justice is blind. So I probably should have seen that one coming. But just her overall presentation and how she's, you know, just relaxed about basically everything and all that jazz is just one of the many reasons why I like her. Next, I'm going to be talking about Judgment. Easily one of the ones that first caught my attention on my very first playthrough. She's the one you have to deal with in the final 3 levels of the game, which are the more bullet hell type sections. She's really cool, love her design. The fact that just her overall color palette is so drastically different from everybody else that you had seen in the game so far. Her attitude and just how, just really makes me weak sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. Oh my goodness, she's honestly got one of the coolest looks in the game, like for real. But all in all, I love her attitude, and despite her tough exterior, she's actually pretty sweet and, you know, all that jazz, but God help you if you even say that to her face, because she'll probably feed you your own teeth at that point. Anyway, there's just a lot to like about her overall, and that's why she's in my top 3. Now, I can't exactly be talking about my top 3 favorite ladies from Helltaker without talking about the absolute gorgeousness that is Beelzebub. Now, obviously in this particular game you see both forms of Beelzebub, but the one in question is not the grotesque monster version. I'm talking about the actual white-haired, very nice red suit, just hourglass figure. She is just absolutely gorgeous. And again, she's actually the one you get from the secret ending, where you have to do a certain thing in a certain spot. Again, won't tell you how. You gotta earn that yourself. But she's got that kind of, not hoity-toity kind of air about her, but she's definitely got that, you know, I definitely know a lot more than you do, or I've been here a lot longer kind of deal vibe to her. And she's just got that kind of, not regal, but not arrogant kind of atmosphere about her. Like, you guys should probably get what I'm saying, but she's definitely got that air of, oh yeah, I'm hot, I know it, and you know it kind of deal. And honestly, she's just, she's gorgeous. Just like I'm very lucky that this part of everything isn't scripted, because I am just at a loss for words for how to describe my feelings for Beelzebub and all that jazz. Like, this whole part of me talking about the top 3 is not scripted at all, and I am absolutely loving it because I can gush about these 3 all I want and it still works. Anyway, the whole thing with Beelzebub is just, she's got that high class kind of feel to her. And like, there's just a lot about her that I really, really enjoy. And I really love how they portray her in the game too. But yeah, Justice, Judgment, and Beelzebub are my top 3 ladies. And I could go on for hours, but then again, I don't think I would want to make the boss man or our editor go through that much. There's also a series of webcomics that the creator posted on their social media, which can also be found on the wiki for the series. These webcomics expand and flesh out the lore of Helltaker as well. There are about 25 of these webcomics released between 2020 and 2022, and are rather quick and easy reads. They mostly just exist to show off some slice of life stuff with the girls. And that's Helltaker. We'll put a link to the game in the description so you can check it out. It's free on Steam and well worth its price. Now, speaking of links, we have both Bossman's and my links in the description, as well as the VGen for the thumbnail artist. As always, me and Bossman both stream on Twitch, however, he's on break at the moment. And remember to like and subscribe, or else YouTube will steal my lungs. Have a nice day now, guys.